But I will follow up with Breaking Ground and with the NYPD, because I just want to, a lot of people in the neighborhood were asking about some encampments. So I just want to specifically follow up, but I'll ask them. And so maybe if someone could follow up with, Keith's office and Carlina's office. Who else did we not hear back from?
We didn't hear back from anybody. We didn't hear back. Yeah, Breaking Ground. We didn't hear back from BRC.
But Leilani got back to us. But
yeah, Leilani got back to us, and then you contacted the bids. But what they're saying in those emails and what I'm seeing walking around is different.
I think so. Yeah.
Which so I'm curious to hear in the meetings what the other community board members have to say. And then on top of that, it's kind of like, okay, doesn't it make sense if you're homeless right now not to go in a shelter and to actually kind of set up shop somewhere else?
Yeah.
And do we really want to advocate for moving these encampments? Is that something that we really even want to do?
Well, I think that, like the one in front of the AMC Theater is getting like, 2 people for a few weeks there. Now it's like 5 or 6 people. It's getting bigger. So that's a problem because it's on the sidewalk, and little kids and, older adults are walking by, and it's just getting more and more encroaching onto into the foot traffic. And it's, so some of them are inappropriate. They shouldn't be there taking over the sidewalk.
Would it be completely impossible to advocate for almost like a legal encampment, like where we say, okay, you can go here,
like the solo site or something?
Just
yes. The nice campground area. Perfect.
It's yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, I would hate to tell people to move right now, especially they don't want to go into a shelter. And what's interesting is they're moving in the city. The New York City has decided to move homeless that have been diagnosed with COVID into hotel rooms, and people that haven't been that don't have, or supposedly don't have COVID, stay in the shelters. And then other cities are doing it the other way around. So I'm curious why they made that decision.
So will we have someone there to answer those questions?
Yeah, that's yeah, I guess, yes. I mean, it doesn't, which brings me to the other, I mean, what role in a situation like this, I guess it's a very unique situation, does a committee like ours have? Is it really that we should just stay out of it because we're just kind of taking up airspace?
No, I don't think that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think that's part of our role is to at least try to, make the neighborhood livable and make it, and help these people that, the bids, by the way, were the Midtown bids. So they're like Grand Central area, East Midtown kind of so they're not along the river. They're not along 2nd and 1st Avenue, so they're not a big part of our community board. So maybe that's part of why, they're not seeing it. They seem to have it under control. And I didn't ask the Flatiron. I don't know if Pam has any feedback on Flatiron.
I don't.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Yeah, and then one more, and I already emailed with John about this. And I think that we should, as a board, just advocate for is the Wi-Fi in family shelters, just even after COVID.
That's a good, excellent point.
It's just it's and even
DHS said it was, but are you still hearing problems or?
Well, it's I mean, I'm hearing differently. That people have a hard time figuring out how to set it up. These devices come with Wi-Fi enabled, but it's just kind of life would be a whole lot easier if shelters just had Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All the time. So I would really like to, together with John, put that on the agenda and create a resolution to just that any shelter that houses students in any way, shape, or form going forward should have free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'll address that when we get to my committee, but yeah, I would totally support that.
Thank you.
So Corinne, that's in addition to the 2 items you already have, or is this for another month?
No, that's in addition. So if you, and I see you're already typing it in there, so that'd be great. Yeah.
And can we also advocate for keeping the POPs open? You know, it's something that came up at full board, that people need a place to sit outside in these conditions. And we should really make sure all of them are open to the public.
Are you seeing some closed?
Yes.
Yes, but there are many closed.
Oh, I guess I've not noticed that. I haven't been out much, so I'm like, I walk to the river and back, and that's about it.
It's between me and the grocery store. So
Jesus, could you add going forward to that sentence?
It's Brendan sharing the screen.
Oh,
now.
sorry, Brendan. Yeah.
If I'm sharing it, so I'm the one who's typing away.
Okay.
So I have a question. What's the deal with evictions? I read something today that there are 4 states that despite the non-eviction legislation that people are being evicted anyway. Do we have any information on that, or?
No.
Yeah, well, there is legislation, and I saw the state, and I think it passed in the assembly, and
Right.
it's passed, and so I mean they're working on tenant eviction, protection now. So I don't know, I'm sure in the next week we'll hear a lot more about that.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, some of this legislation is like no evictions, but it just means that people will suddenly have to pay 3 or 4 or 5 months worth of rent all at once, or they'll get evicted the second this all ends. So then we're just going to have this kind of avalanche of evictions. And yeah, we'll just, it's kind of like the first point on our agenda, what are our electeds proposing to do about this?
There'll be a lot more by then, right? We'll have a lot more information, and I'm sure things will be enacted by then. So
yeah,
it's scary.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
The landlords. I mean, I assume this is all also very, very hard on actual.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care about Blackstone, but
oh, poor Blackstone.
But I'm sure that there are smaller landlords that have maybe 1 or 2 buildings that are just going to be crushed by this.
Yeah, I was talking to just by coincidence yesterday with a friend of mine who's fairly affluent, owns a couple buildings, and he's making tough decisions tenant by tenant. It's really, it's really difficult for them. I mean, he's a wealthy guy, but he's still, the cash flow is hurt, and he has to really make some painful decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, Corinne, is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so exec we have for May 20th, and I think Sandro had to go. Adam, are you still here?
I'm still here as well.
Oh, Sandro, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm about to leave.
Okay.
But could I just add 2 things, and maybe Adam can wrap up because I do have to run. I'm sorry. So there is a easement sort of application that we just received yesterday for 609 2nd Avenue. You might recall the corner of 34th and 2nd Avenue has been slated for the extension of the 2nd Avenue subway for some time. Obviously, while that's not going to impact that corner directly right now, there is an easement need that is being put forth by a developer that has an assemblage of 5 lots there on that corner. So that's something that we do need to respond to them by mid-May. So Adam and I were hoping to actually snag the 7th of May as a date, since the 197A committee will not be meeting that evening, so that we have time to meet and get back to them after a full board.
That's great. That works.
And we'd also like to have the Economic Development Corporation and perhaps the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project give us an update on what the impact of COVID-19 is actually doing for planning and construction delays, or what they're not doing.
Yep.
So we'd love to hear about what they're doing to kind of make up for the fact that we had some definitive, definitive moments that we had to meet certain construction deadlines for around the East Side Coastal Resiliency and the FEMA funding, as well as the East Midtown Greenway.
Yeah, Will Fisher had said that the East Midtown Greenway, there are no, it's moving forward. There are no delays. I mean,
Okay.
it's been funded, but ESCR, he wasn't, that's
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to know more about that.
Sandro,
It'd be good to, yeah. Yep.
Sandra, we reached out to DDC about an ESCR update, and they said that they have been advised to keep meetings outside of normal business hours to a minimum, or just not do them. But so they were proposing instead a written update with questions and stuff like that, as opposed to appearing at a Zoom meeting. We can try and appeal to them again, but
Yep.
they
Jesus, let me call. I had a call into somebody there anyway, Andrew Hallweck, just on something separate. So let me ask him, because I mean, but again, by May 7th, they should be, that's almost a month away, or, a little less than a month away, but they should be able to come. We're not,
Well,
they
right,
don't need to have a
we'd be
fancy
doing a virtual-
presentation.
Right,
Yeah,
a virtual
yeah.
meeting. It'd be interesting to have a conversation.
Yeah, they don't need to.
Other than just getting the response. I'm sorry, I do have to drop off though.
Okay.
I
thank
know
you.
Adam wanted to bring up
Okay.
one additional item, so don't just move on yet. So anyway,
Okay.
good seeing you all.
Good night.
Stay safe
All
and
right.
healthy.
See you, Sandra.
Bye.
Yeah, so I mean, we need to hear something. So
so too.
we'll see. Anyway, in addition to that, we should also get a formal statement from Parks regarding the Con Ed Pier as well, in terms of their planning processes or how they envision this moving forward in some way, shape, or form. I had a chance to go down to the Pench Point yesterday. It was what I sort of assumed. As we all know, it's very narrow. It's impossible to social distance there, and it was getting heavy usage. I don't know where we want to potentially tie this into, be it what Sandy was talking about earlier, or something just in general with the waterfront. But I think we should consider nudging the city to try to institute some mitigations somewhere to make sure that people can social distance and use recreation at the same time, especially on the waterfront.
Or that fix that we recommended with the FDR exit ramp. I mean, I
The
don't know
fix
how-
with the FDR exit ramp, or potential speeding up Avenue C sort of detours, which
Yep.
have kind of been talked about off and on. So if it's already in the toolkit, so something we should advocate for something.
Sandy, can we, I don't know if we work that in with it's really part of the ESCR, but that's like 5 years from now. You know what I mean? That part of the project, or well, 3 or 4 years, but maybe that's.
Actually, one of the things, instead of closing streets, is to dedicate portions of pretty empty streets for recreational use. There's no reason why they can't.
And FDR can be considered a, empty street now. I mean, it's not empty, but it's pretty quiet.
There's
Yeah,
less
traffic volumes are
traffic.
down. Absolutely, by a lot.
But there may be other streets that we can think of that actually make a connection,
Mhm.
Yeah.
contiguous, so we could use them.
Okay. That might be on Jean's recommendation list too, some of those streets over there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they are. Okay. All right.
Is this resulting in any change of agenda items or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I think
It'll be on Sandy's. Yeah, it'll be on yours.
Yeah, for transportation, we talked about it, like how it's basically how to reuse or close or reuse streets.
Yep.
Based on.
Okay.
And Adam, we are having the DCP come for the easement. Did you guys just already talk about that? I was totally zoning out.
On the 7th.
Okay, transit easement on the 7th, right? Okay. Anything else?
No, I believe that's it.
All right, thanks.
I have a quick question, if I could. It's Kavita.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry.
on ESCR and any other work that's being done that's either design or CDs or anything, you know, we've been seeing a lot of architects being asked to stop design work and to put holds on things, to pause a lot of the city work that they're doing. We've been kind of, from my workplace, from our, you know, American Architects, we've been trying to push for planning processes to continue so that when this pause is done, I mean, understanding there's huge like financial implications to everything, but that we're ready to go, especially with critical work. I didn't know if there was anything of that sort. I know ESDR, I'm assuming everything's moving forward as planned, or do we know exactly?
I don't know.
We don't know. So
Don't
that's
know.
the other thing. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that, you know, when they put these like stop orders on all these, it's not just the construction that's been stopped, it's the design and the, you know, even initial planning processes. People have been giving contracts and been told like stop everything. It's very tough to like, you know, just jump right in and start over on these plans. We're going to lose a lot of time. The architects are going to lose a lot of, you know, potentially money and can't even, you know, make ends meet. So I just want to put that out there. I thought of it after our last full board when all the electeds were on, but I do want to say that's something that really concerns me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, moving on to John, health and education.
Yeah, hi, it's the, what do we have up there? Here we go. Yeah, that item itself, Brendan was kind enough to reach out to Councilmember Kalos's office, and we don't have the impression that that is time sensitive. So if that is not time sensitive, it's certainly not a reason to hold a meeting. Then the question becomes, are there other areas that we would want to get involved in? Corinne mentioned the whole issue of students in temporary housing and Wi-Fi. That is a major issue right now in the DOE. And as I communicated with Molly and Corinne and a couple other people in an email, you know, they're very painfully aware of this. The reason that spring break continued was done away with, rather, was they want to keep in touch with a lot of the kids that just, you know, they're worried about losing contact with. So, you know, we could expand an agenda here, but, you know, I'm concerned that, you know, we don't want to be occupying space that other people are occupying, but we could expand an agenda item. We could to invite someone from the DOE to come in and make a presentation, talk about what is, you know, the state of the distance learning in the schools. But that's already being discussed at some detail at the Community Education Council. And I would really advocate for, you know, publicizing the CEC meetings. They had 80 members of the public attend their last meeting when they typically get like 5 or 6 in addition to the membership.
And how about having your committee recommend that they join, or we could have a joint committee, but for the May 18th housing committee, and then we could, if that topic is discussed.
Yeah, that would be a great idea, actually.
Then we, you know, we're trying to minimize the meetings, but I don't know if is that going to make Corinne?
Yeah, I wouldn't, but this item alone would not, unless for some reason it's very time sensitive. This item alone would not be a reason to have a you know, a meeting. But
yeah, so we'll cancel this meeting for sure for the 3K, and then
for that 3K, and then we would, and I'm going to have to ask someone. I have to. Okay, I just had to ask one of my kids politely to get the buzzer. But we are having a very, I'm very sorry for the interruption. It's life. Now, and the other thing I was thinking, well, we're the health committee, and Councilmember Rivera is chair of the hospitals committee of the council, and she's sending out daily emails that are terrific. You know, so if we had a meeting, you know, we would have perhaps her and someone from the DOE come, but I'm not sure that we're not occupying space that isn't already occupied very effectively by others if we're doing that. That's where I'm concerned right now. So
we definitely can promote that, right? I think Jesus got your email of the next upcoming meeting. So
Yeah,
can
there's a
have that.
meeting, in fact, by coincidence, of the Students with Disabilities Committee, online tomorrow, where Emily Hellstrom, who was going to come to one of our meetings, will be running, and that hopefully we can get as many people as possible, attending that meeting. So my instinct would be, to do a joint with Corinne's committee, on the whole issue of Wi-Fi, and come up with a joint resolution.
Is that okay, Corinne?
Yeah, no, I would love that. And then, with your expertise on this already, John, it would be great to just have this meeting together. And I would just kind of maybe, writing a resolution for this is kind of fairly time sensitive, so that, when this pause ends, this Wi-Fi just doesn't get yanked away and it actually stays.
That's a very good point. Because what this is, I mean, one of the, as I said, repeating what I said in the email to you and Molly and Claude and Azia, I mean, the DOE was completely unprepared to, in 1 week, move to distance learning for 1.2 million students. There was no preparation, really. And they're doing their best, and it's working well in some schools. Schools my kids go to, it's working very well. But in other schools, it's not working well. And for some populations, English language learners, kids with special needs, and students in temporary housing, those populations are all having a real difficult time.
Yeah, no, I mean, what happened in our school, in my son's public school, is that basically they made a lot of things not mandatory because there was just a few students that were falling between the cracks for whatever reason, even though they're getting their devices and they're getting it with instructions on how to install Wi-Fi. It wasn't happening, and I didn't want to lose those students, so they made it not mandatory, which is kind of like a shitty way around.
Exactly.
Letting, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it should just be set up, and so yeah. We'll talk offline, John.
Yeah, let's talk offline, because
okay, thank you. This will be good. Yeah, that'll be a good meeting.
It's really shown many holes, and hopefully it's an opportunity for for the DOE to change a number of things as it does them. But I think that's enough for now.
We just want to make sure we have the right people at that meeting, Corinne and John. So like we'll talk again offline and make sure we invite some people, that decision makers, right? Or
yeah.
Thank you,
Molly. This is B. I need to leave. I wish everyone stays safe.
Thank you, B. You too. Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Good night. Okay, so, and I was just going to say, Kyle is next for business affairs and street activities, but we should move the agenda so he's first sometimes. You know what I mean? Like we should switch it up, because he's always last, and that's not fair. I feel like
okay.
No, but I mean, we should just have it, rotate through, so you're not always last.
We do that with the full board agendas. These are always chronological, but you guys are always welcome to go in whatever order you want.
Maybe I can just do that. I'll just do that. Okay.
I'll defer to the chair there.
Okay.
Yeah. So for BASA, obviously agenda is still in formation. Obviously, given the pause effect and everything that's going on with the economy, we're seeing that a lot of applicants are either canceling or modifying whether they want to obviously open or continue going forward. There are a couple of applicants who asked to be pushed to May, so we'll see what happens as we move further into May, if they want to continue to go forward with their application or not. If things are reopened, we can meet again. Otherwise, we will do the Zoom webinar for applicants, which actually in some cases might be more organized than an in-person meeting. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, obviously we, with a lot of help from the board staff, have the Open for Business database, which has been really, really great. We've seen a lot of people enter their businesses in, or of businesses that they have heard of. So I would just urge everyone on the executive committee to please continue to post that information as much as you can. We also have a form where people can sign up. The staff has been really great at putting it on social media. It's on the website as well. So please continue to share that because as long as we can still do deliveries and takeout, please try to, I try to do it like a couple of times a week just to, support the local businesses. Molly sent me something the other day about the bids who have put together a plan that they've worked with each other to ask public officials to help them with economic relief. So that's something that we can discuss as well. Hopefully by that point we might have even a first draft of some type of resolution. But really coming up with ideas to see how we can support local businesses, because as I mentioned at the full board meeting that we had the other week, this is obviously first and foremost a health crisis, but as we also know, it's also an economic crisis, particularly for small business, for employees, for workers, the working class, and we want to make sure that once the health side of things has been taken care of, that we can seamlessly move in and be proactive on the economic side of things. So if you do have ideas, please share them with us. I already had a couple of emails from people who've, sort of suggested some things that would be of help to them as business owners. So anything else that you've observed, would be great as well. So we're gonna work and discuss on that as well.
What kind of things were the business owners asking for support in?
Yeah, so big thing is obviously rent. So that kind of goes into what Corinne was discussing earlier. A pause on that, and then obviously they're caring about their employees as well. So figuring out a way, that gets them back on track. But it's really about payroll right now and rent, and coming back from that. And for many of them also loans. So outstanding loans that they've had or anything like that. It's just hitting them all at once. It's unfortunately the perfect storm of destruction. So just looking at the different things that are possible and just seeing how we can best support that and advocate on their behalf. Because the big corporations are pretty much fine in this. It's really more about the independent owners and the small business owners, and of course the workers who are employed by them. So really figuring that out.
Yeah, there's like complications filling out those loan papers too. I think some of them they're very onerous, and maybe the process is not good, but we can direct them to places that can help them complete the paperwork.
And fortunately we have really, really great elected officials in our district who have been really proactive. So Keith had a town hall on Tuesday night that I attended virtually. They had the Commissioner of Small Business Services there as well. So they were talking about the different, and it was actually pretty well attended. Within a couple of seconds, their Zoom was out of capacity. So people were on Facebook Live as well. So it was pretty great. So we have great partners in our district as well. So all being proactive on this.
Yeah, I was on that call. That was a very good call.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even a small business person, and it really helped kind of, clarify some issues, and that was good.
Yeah.
That's very good. All right. Anything else, Kyle?
Nope, that's it from my end.
Okay. And is there any old or new business? I asked.
Hey, Molly, can I bring up something real quick?
Oh yeah, and Pam's showing off her face mask. I see.
Which I made.
Nice. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jesus. I'm sorry.
So a budget thing. As you all know, that all the community boards were given a pot of money by the city council to use for certain, predetermined things to enhance their operations. This is that same pot of money that last year one community board in Brooklyn used to buy a car and sort of caused a lot of controversy. We were using the money well, but this fiscal year we are going to have some left over, and given budget realities being what they are nowadays, it's very unlikely we're going to get this money again. We did have a project in mind to probably work with the parliamentarians of New York to maybe do a parliamentary procedure guide for the community board. But given what's going on right now, that project is on hold and fell through. So I think it would be a good time to maybe top off the retainer that we have for George, our urban planning consultant. And because the city council, to avoid any kind of controversies like that, what happened with the car, they want a vote for any kind of expenditure that's over $10,000. we'll have about $20,000, and we can top off the retainer for George, since he does, provide a good service to this board. I just wanted to know if exec would be willing to consider a resolution at either May or June's full board, preferably May, because June's cutting a little close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my inclination would be, at this time, and first of all, if Jesus and Molly assess that this is essential, then by all means it should happen. But my instinct would almost be to give it back
Yeah, I agree.
as part of, because of the CEC, we had a certain amount, we could have spent it all, and we didn't. We gave it back to the DOE. And, maybe if every community board gave something back, the school could hire another teacher.
Well, we don't know where that money goes.
Yeah, it doesn't get allocated like that usually.
No, I know, but my
Goes
point
to real
is it's
estate
just that it
development.
would be almost a symbolic gesture. That
John, the city actually has already reduced our budget. This was something I was going to.
That's fine. As I said, I'm leaving it up to you and Molly.
I provide monthly updates to Brian on the budget, and I was going to, in this next one, I was going to say this, but the OMB has already taken a few $1,000s from our budget this fiscal year, and they have told us that they are going to reduce our budget by double that amount next fiscal year. So they've already taken some back, and given that our budgets are kind of shoestring as they are, what we can sort of use responsibly now, I think we probably should. And Brian and Molly make a good point that there's no guarantee that money that we give back to the city will be used in our district for any kind of purpose that we have any say in.
And George is some work that we'll use him. I mean, he's needed, and we've used him, and it's great. I was going to ask Claude. Claude, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay then, fine.
I mean, I was just being a devil's advocate there a little bit.
No, I love your idea. That's a good spirit. That's really a good thought.
Well, don't give it back.
What, Claude?
Don't give it back.
Oh, okay.
So we'll mock up a resolution. We'll send it around, and we'll have it ready for full board in May.
Okay.
Jesus,
Great.
is that the only possible expense that trips
Yeah.
the 5-figure threshold?
We do need a new printer. We've actually ordered a new printer, but because we're no longer in the office, we can't actually be there to accept delivery of it. But we do have our normal non-city council funds to pay for that. Other than that, I mean, we're going to look into some just general office supplies or general operational costs and address those this year if we can.
Yeah, we
All
should spend whatever we can get our hands on, because I do agree the non-baseline money is probably going away. Our budget beyond that is probably going to be cut.
Okay. Corinne?
Can we make sure that anything we spend gets spent at the small businesses, local small businesses we just discussed?
Correct. Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. If there was a way to direct, pretty much kind of like what John was saying, but in a more direct way, if we could make any of those expenditures going to like an MWBE or small business or something that's within the district, but still getting, what we need for the board.
Or offer to fund Wi-Fi in a homeless shelter.
We do have funds. We could do those things. I don't know the cost, but.
No, the CEC is not perfect, and I'm not holding it up as an example, but last year we went and spent money to give backpacks to homeless kids.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
We were actually
I've got to
talking.
go. I'm just going to say goodbye really quickly. I've got to get going. Sorry,
Bye,
guys.
Elsie.
Thank you.
I think
Bye.
we're wrapping up here. We're wrapping up.
We're wrapping
Let's
up.
talk about expenses at expenditures at budget. We can talk about that, or we could talk about it offline, ideas, and then bring it to the next budget committee or even full board. But I think we do have funding where we have money in our budget that we could spend for, Wi-Fi at the shelter or something like that. But I think for this money, it's a little different. And
for the council money, there are strings attached, and there are only certain things you can spend it on. There's a list that they gave to all the community boards. So a lot like internet for local shelters and stuff like that. That is not on that list. As far as money that we have left from our own normal budget, If, I don't know that we would have enough to do those kinds of things, but if you guys have specifics and actual figures and stuff that you can bring forward, we can see.
That's what we need. Yeah. Okay. We'll keep investigating. Those are good thoughts.
And the consultant in question is a small business.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's located in the district just above us, so not ours, but
I was going to say, I know, I
close.
think he's in CBA, but that's all
Yeah.
right. Okay. Any old or new business? Hearing none. Oh, Corinne.
I forgot to say one thing, that the website, the housing committee, Raj is still on as co-chair.
That is my fault. We did identify that. It didn't make it in the transfer. We will rectify that very soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, do we do a second roll call at exec? Normally we
No,
don't.
that's only for full board.
Okay, all right. So have a good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. I like, Pam, I love your face mask. Everyone has a face mask? I don't have a cool one
Yes.
like you, but
Yes.
all right. Have a good evening. We'll see you guys
Thanks, you
soon.
too.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Everyone.